Welcome to art class. Today we're going to be doing Graffiti 3B, meaning that it's the second part of Graffiti 3 in which we're creating our masterpieces, or piece, which is short for masterpiece. Let me go ahead and share my screen and walk you through it. All right, so this looks really busy, so let's just quickly walk through what we've already done. So last week we created 3 ideas for our masterpiece. And I made this one green to indicate that's the one I chose. And then we also practiced bubble letters, block letters, and a third style that could be a combination or something new. And we also developed our color scheme. And I did this quick illustration to illustrate where all of these pieces go. The gradient is the inside of the letters, the glow is the outside of the letters, the stroke is what's behind it. I do have multiple words, so I ended up doing a second color scheme for myself. So my survive to thrive will be one color scheme for survive and another for thrive. Although I only required one color scheme for your grade. All right, so I've added this text box here just to guide us as we are working today for Graffiti 3B. Step 1 says to insert relevant images off to the side or the top, meaning that they're not going to be in our artwork yet. And so what images, what relevant images? Well, I'm going to go to my idea. My phrase is survive to thrive, and the images that I brainstormed were coronavirus, symbols of the future, replace the dot of the I with the virus symbol. So I'm going to go to insert images, search the web, and I'm going to try and find some images that I could potentially use. There we go. Cool. I'm going to grab this one because I think it's very clear with the shapes. It will pop the image into the workspace. So for now, I'm just going to resize it smaller, and I'm going to pop it over here by my idea. I don't actually want this in my work yet. I'm going to look through again, see if there's any more that I would like. These are all pretty much the same. Oh, like a mask. That's actually a good idea. Face mask. And I'm trying to find one that's going to be easy to like trace. Let's look up clip art. That's going to be easy to trace. Cool. I like this one because it's really easy to see. So that's the one I'm going to grab. And again, I don't really need this image yet. So I'm just going to pop it off to the side. Beautiful. So I've got 2 images I can work with. I can always add more later if these don't work out for me. But now in my brain, I'm thinking about what images I have, which is going to help me lay them out and think about where I want to put them. All right. So step 2 says Scribble Tool to lay out words and images. So, if this is our workspace, I want to figure out exactly where I want to place each of my words and pictures. All right, cool. So oftentimes I will just kind of lay it out in terms of like lines to write on. So if I know I'm doing survive to thrive, I've got one line for survive. So this is where I'm going to write survive. And then I'm going to just go ahead and do my number 2. And then I want to put the thrive over here. If you already have your letters off to the side, you absolutely don't have to redo them. I could literally just like grab my letters and pop them over here. That's totally fine. So literally just dragging them over here because like, why would I redo that again? It makes no sense. And then I can, of course, like make them the right size. But let's say like I don't have, I didn't do thrive yet. I have, but let's pretend I did it. Well, then I could just write it out how I wanted it over here. Beautiful. Now, of course, I do have my letters. So I'm just gonna pop them over here. Which, I'm gonna undo that for a second. I forgot about my writing being on top. So out of the way. Let me just move this to back. And George is in the back. Cool. Now my letters will be on top. like this idea of like using this arrow as my line here. Beautiful. I'm loving that. Let's put this behind. Yes, beautiful. All right, of course, I don't, the other thing I want to draw out is like where I want arrows and stuff. So I already have one arrow that I've drawn in, but I also want to incorporate some bits. Let's go ahead and zoom in. These are all things I want to plan out. Survive to thrive. So like, where does it make sense? I could turn this into an arrow. I feel like that definitely needs some bits. Maybe an arrow there to like suggest forward motion. Ooh, I like that. I always like to think about where I want to add connections. I think I'm going to connect the R and the V. So like draw in that I want to connect that there. Other places, I think I'm going to cut this off and do some bits there. I also want to think about my images. So I think instead of, I have two eyes, so I think I'm going to do the coronavirus symbol here. So I'm just laying it out, I don't care about it. So I'm going to do survive to thrive. And I think I'm going to use a sun for this one, because I was thinking about images of the future. And so I think like my thought process is like what kind of images work with my message. All right, cool. And then so after I've used my Scribble tool to lay out my words and image, I'm going to use my curve or my polyline tool to create letters. Now, obviously, if you already have those letters, you have less work to do this week. But no matter what, there's probably still pieces of this that you need to do. So I'm going to use my curve tool. I think I'm going to do a big old bubbly 2, because I feel like I did more of a bubbly letters for the to thrive, because that's like the like hopeful part of my message. So my thought process is also, you know, what makes sense for my message, bubbles or block. And so I thought survive I would do with block letters, because it's like more stark. It's, I guess the survive part is more negative. So that was kind of my thought process there, creating my you know, creating my bits and adding on as well. My goal is to, you know, have all of my letter pieces. And then I want to make a connection here. So it's going to be super fun. I'm just tracing over my old pieces. This is super fun when it's like really complicated like this, but at the end of the day, I'm just focusing on where is my next click. Ooh, very cool. Loving that. I'm not going to worry about the eye right now because that's technically an image. And I'm actually okay with this not being an arrow, because it has arrow vibes. After that, I can clean up a little bit if I have anything that I can still see. Let me just grab a shape for now to represent my sun, and then I can create that later. Beautiful. Do a sun there. Clean up a little bit, of course, always cleaning up. Cool. Can also like double click to edit my letters. That's nice. Move around as needed. Move this E up a little bit. Okay. So I've completed number Step 3, use the curve or polyline tool to create letters, including arrows and bits. So essentially, like how do I want my letters to look? And then apply our color scheme. Let me zoom out for this portion. So here's my color scheme. So I'm just literally saying, this is what I wanted. So now I'm going to do it. So the great thing about making your color scheme in advance is that your gradient, your custom gradient that you created is already inside of your toolbar. So I'm just going to fill color, gradient, custom gradient, gradient, custom gradient. Doing that for all of my little pieces that I've done so far. I think I'm just going to make that yellow since it's at the very top and make this one green since it's the very bottom. That looks fine. Of course, I'm not worried about my image yet. That's for next week. We'll talk about that next week. So there's my gradient. I'm going to go ahead and do my gradient over here, which is like this one. So I made a choice to do 2 different gradients because I thought it helped communicate my message. Again, I used the green and the survive because it makes me think of coronavirus. And then I'm using like, I guess you would call like sunset colors. Oops. And then let's push this over here. All right. And then my glow is, I'm going to just select all my letters. Then my glow is the border color, which is, what did I choose? I think that's my custom color. Yep. And then my thickness, I think was 8 pixels. For the glow for this one, I did a dark green, and 8 pixels is fine. Don't forget your little bits. I don't want to fill it. I want to, sorry, I got confused about which was which. Line color. Cool. And then I want to create my stroke. And you can absolutely create one stroke that goes behind the entire phrase, or you can create one stroke that goes around just your letters. So just whatever makes sense for you. I'm going to go ahead and zoom into 100%. This one, I want to do the polyline stroke, which is really close behind. I'm kind of assuming where my image is going to be, which is another reason it's helpful to lay out your image. I know. I love how applying your color scheme also means you have to create your stroke, but this should be familiar to us. All right, and then remember arrange, order, send to back. And then my stroke color, I went with this like darker purple. And I'm gonna see how it looks. Yeah, I actually really enjoy that. Beautiful. Now for this one, I actually, let me get rid of the stroke on this. Let it just be the image. Just cleaning up a little bit from where I had drawn that. Because I want just the sun there. Okay, and then for this one, again, I'm always thinking like what makes sense for my message. This is like a hopeful message. I'm actually going to end up using a shape. I'm gonna use a cloud shape here and put it behind. I always find myself like having to stretch out my images. Beautiful. And then arrange, order, send to back. Lovely. I am going to make mine a solid color, like so. That looks nice. Although now I'm thinking that I kind of want this to only be 4 pixels. Love it. Or I might end up making those bigger. So I've applied my color scheme. I've applied my gradient, my glow, and my stroke. And that's where I'm going to stop today. So there's still some things that are unfinished. Obviously, the incorporation of images is going to come next week, but I just want us to be thinking about where we want to put them. Like I still need to think through where am I going to put my mask? Maybe my little 2 needs a cute face and a mask. Ooh, Scribble Tool. Let's make it happen. Should totally put my mask right here and then like give him a super cute face. Yeah, that's some cuteness right there. And then applying my, like essentially doing the hard work of the letters today and applying our color scheme. Of course, it's fine if you take your letters from over here, that you've already done that hard work, you don't have to redo it. So again, when I go to grade today, I'm looking for images off to the side, your Scribble tool to have been used in some capacity, your curve and polyline tool to create your letters, and then applying the color scheme. And that's it for today. And then we'll continue working on this next week, in which we add things like shadow and background and incorporating our images. I will stop sharing. Apologies, I forgot to like tell you to pause, but obviously you can pause this video anytime you need to be able to do the step and go back and watch the step until you got it. Alrighty, I'll see you guys next week. Thank you for coming to art class.